Hello. Welcome. It's Annette Munich. I'm so glad that you're here. We're going to have a great show today. Unfortunately, Father Shawn can't be with us, and he sends his most sincere regrets. Um, his wife, Sharon, is seriously ill, and we appreciate your thoughts and prayers at this time. There's also a GoFundMe page for her, Sharon Whittington. And this is going to be an ongoing illness and process for her recovery. I will put a link at the bottom of this show, and people can catch the link after. But it is GoFundMe, Sharon Whittington. As you know, Father Shawn is a priest with the Old Catholic Church. He is an exorcist. He was a permanent cast member on Eli Roth Presents The Legion of Exorcists on Travel Channel and Max. Also, HBO is showing replays of that season. Father Shawn is also an author, and he has two books, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 1 and 2. Very, very interesting stories. Both of his books are collections of his cases, and just really fascinating, pretty scary at times. He does resolve all of his cases, so there's a lot of happy endings. But both are fascinating reads, and that's another way to help him. His books are on Amazon and available on his website. On Amazon, we have them in paperback and Kindle. So, having said all that, we do have a really interesting show lined up, and I've been talking to Woz a little bit in the background before the show started. Very fascinating man. I'm going to bring him on. His wife will be joining us shortly, and they are from Las Vegas. So I'm really, really sorry that Father Shawn's missing this. We're going to have them come back. I'm sure there's going to be just fascinating stories to share about that area. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Woz. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. Really happy to have you here. And this is your first time on the show. So this is J9 and Woz from Two Faces Paranormal. And they have
That's right.
their own podcast. And they're paranormal investigators. And J9, she is a psychic medium, as I said. Woz is a tech guy. And he developed an app for collecting spirit data. And we're going to have a link for everybody later on in the show where you can go ahead and you can get that and try it out. And we'd love to hear what you think about it. So I would like to start off asking a little bit about your history, how the two of you got started, and what you're doing.
Hi. So J9 and I met about 5 years ago. She opened up to me about her mediumship and started to become more open about that and explore that in herself. And then I also have been a full stack engineer with software, hardware, firmware, just a techie build stuff kind of dude. And I was looking at paranormal shows with her and trying to see what I thought were weaknesses and places that had too many variables in gear that people were using for paranormal investigation, and to start trying things. It kind of started with me getting basically one of everything that we saw on Ghost Hunters or Ghost. What's the one with taps? I was facing that.
Oh, yeah. Ghost Hunters, right?
Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. I mixed the names up, but you know what I'm talking about. Any
I do.
of the other ones, Steve Shippey, Cindy Kaza, any of these shows going on. I'm sorry to not name other folks doing
No,
that stuff.
go ahead. I think most of us have watched all of these shows, and really, there's a lot of credit to be given, especially back to Ghost Hunters Taps, because before that time, a lot of people were not talking very much about their paranormal experiences. And that show came and it was a big success, and we got a lot of shows that came afterward. But it started getting people talking, and take the fear out of saying that you do experience things, you've had some problems, because that used to be kind of a taboo thing. People didn't want to talk about it, thought everybody would think that they're crazy or making it up or whatnot.
Yeah, and to have a medium to work with that we can see, okay, is she picking up a smell or a taste or something unusual, getting part of a name or a detail, or picking up something in a certain area at the same time that I go to that area and get something? For example, we've seen the SLS or the XLS cameras that a lot of these paranormal investigators will use. In a
Could I
nutshell,
jump in
those.
for one
Oh, yeah,
second?
go ahead.
Because is the SLS the one where it looks like you're seeing a skeleton?
Exactly.
Okay. I
Yeah,
just
they
want,
both basically are. It just
okay.
depends on whether you use a camera or a combination of a camera and this thing that shoots out invisible lasers and can tell how far away stuff is. And either way, it goes into a computer that's just ready to look for people, what looks like a person. And when these things see something shaped like a person and puts the skeleton there while there's no person there, sometimes that's really compelling, especially if it can like wave back or respond to something we say, or it happens in an area that we're already that J9 was drawn to, for example. That's been one of my favorite things.
Watching that on TV is just kind of crazy cool. It's
Yeah,
also a little bit scary, but and you see them moving, and maybe they're sitting in a chair or they're walking around. It, I don't know how they developed that. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. I don't know how they developed any kind of technology. I understand things like toasters. I'm a little rudimentary. So I know that well, back in the day I was involved in the ghost box community, and I understand what they were doing and working with radios and white noise and different things like that. But these different cameras, and I don't expect you to explain the whole thing to me to where I understand it fully. But it's kind of really a marvelous thing. It's crazy cool.
let's talk about ghost boxes since you brought them
Let's
up.
talk about it.
That's an exciting thing that I have mixed feelings about, and that's part
Me
of what's
too.
exciting about it. So, for everyone unaware, basically, there are AM and FM radios that will scan through stations on their own. Some do this better than others. Now you can get ones that are made to do this. Some will let you scan just part of the spectrum. I actually have a project that is something that I built that I also put plans on the website. When I say the website, I mean Two Faces Paranormal, which you can see here. There's, oops, I'm clicking in weird places. Oh, it's because I'm on the wrong screen. Anyway, there's a radio thing that I made that adds one extra little feature to it where basically it can find the stations where there's already something there and skip over those to try to pick up something that pops up in between stations. But I found out doing this that often what people get compelling things from is these chunks of stations. And this is where a lot of the controversy comes in, because there are people that immediately dislike spirit boxes because they say, okay, it's just picking up chunks of radio. And a
Right.
lot of times it can just seem random chunks of radio and not be very interesting. But sometimes those chunks just happen to randomly line up with bits of speech that answer questions. And this brings me to something else bigger than this that I think might be a factor. It seems that random things can sometimes be influenced by the paranormal or by some entity, whether it's a dead person or whatever. It could even be the space alien for all we know. It seems like something intelligent can in some places and sometimes influence random things. This could be behind things as old as tea leaves, tarot cards, things that are just completely random. And science is actually getting towards something that might have kind of an answer to that. There's a theory about parallel, possible futures, the many worlds theory, that every time you make a decision or every time something random happens, there's a copy of the whole universe where one thing happened or the other thing happened. There's one universe where you took the left road and one universe where you took the right road. What if once you're dead and you're just energy, you go into this world of particles and energy? Because there's electricity and energy going on in our brains with our whole thought processes. If that can be preserved and it lives in the quantum world, quantum stuff, which is like super tiny stuff like atoms, it has its own set of rules where it sits in all these universes all at once until we look at it. So like an atom, for example, we don't know where its electron is. We just know a shell of where it could be until we look at it. And then we're suddenly pulled into that universe where the electron is in that place. So what if these spirits, will say, can pull us into the specific reality where the radio landed on that word at the right time, and that there's a bunch of other realities where it landed on other junk that didn't go along, and we're just not in those because we're in the one in the path talking to that spirit in that moment. And maybe that's how things like spirit boxes actually work, and why I didn't get anything cool popping up yet in these blank spots. It seemed to actually depend on landing on these real chunks of radio. Have you heard of the Estes method by chance that relates to spirit boxes?
No, I would love to hear it.
Oh, it's
I
really
also
simple.
think when I was with the people in this community, this is just my thoughts, and you could tell me what you think about this. I actually think the spirit boxes, they're not just picking up ambient activity. I think they're a draw. And I've seen a lot of cases where people were using them and goofing around with them in their house and ended up with a lot of spirits in their homes.
I love that theory that when you're actively investigating, like calling the spirits there, trying to talk to them, that causes more. And just really briefly, the Estes method is just using a spirit box with headphones. So only you can hear it, but you can't hear the other people asking questions. So when you can't hear the question askers, you can't search for something in the radio to answer those questions. You just speak what you think you hear. And these other people get answers to their questions from what you're hearing in the radio that they don't, and you're not hearing their questions. But anyway, what if what you were saying with drawing spirits in by doing a spirit box or something, Ouija board even is another example. What if that is bringing them there to then be there to bring you into the reality where what they want to say is the right thing that pops up, so to speak?
Right.
It could be kind of bringing that situation there if they're I think is where I'm going.
Right. Well, it's making an invitation and an open door. A ghost box could be sort of akin to a Ouija board in a way, because you're opening a door and you don't know what you're going to get. But the people that I know, I just tell people, don't use it in your house.
Yeah.
Because I had too many people I knew that the one guy, and he was a very prominent researcher in the ghost box community, it sounded like people marching across his hardwood floors. This is back in the days of Sky Peace, like, if anybody's around, please help. And so it seems to me like drawing them in.
So what if, and here's a completely alternate theory that could sit side by side the other one, but this is a more sciencey one. What if when you draw more spirits to you, you beckon them, you also set up your subconscious to both look for such things and both hallucinate such things, which hallucination and pareidolia are a common skeptic explanations for paranormal phenomena. So say we follow that route and you're setting your brain up for something. How does that not exclude the idea of still a tangible spirit influencing your subconscious? You could just be setting up your own psychicness and have the hallucination and the pareidolia still be influenced by a spirit and not just a pure fabrication of your subconscious entirely. This is behind what people will do when they'll have a Gans field glasses, which is just basically white ping pong balls that you shine red light on. It just sets you up to hallucinate. And while that totally triggers skeptics saying, well, you're just this is complete hallucination. What if that hallucination relates to something real that was actually influenced by something? Here, we're going to add J9 over here. I got you a chair. Hop on in.
Sweet.
Hi.
Welcome. Hi, J9. Welcome.
Here's your headphones.
We've been talking a little bit about ghost boxes, technology, Estes method. I guess kind of you could say alternate realities, jumping timelines. We covered a lot in 18 minutes, actually. We've had a pretty lively discussion, but very happy that you're here. So
I made it.
yes, thank you so much. If Woz, if you want to finish that thought and then
She came at a perfect spot. And I like how you summarized it too. So are these spirit boxes, tarot cards, things where something just completely random happens? Are they something that spirit can influence the randomness of, so you end up in the right reality with that spirit where those random things actually relate to you and what they want to say to you? And we talked about how even what skeptics say about pareidolia, which is where you look for something human in something automatically, and hallucinations that people can trigger themselves to have. What if those are still able to be influenced by entities in the spirit world? When like mediums, psychics, when they're what skeptics call hallucinations actually relate to data they didn't have, that's really compelling in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's what, sorry.
I was going to say something. I'll throw a little bit of icing on the cake here. To some people, everything's random. To some people, not very much is random. There's a whole bunch of people, spiritual community, but also you don't have to be that spiritual to think that there's no such thing as, random, that there's synchronicity in the world and that things happen for a reason and that there's a grand design. And kind of like what you were saying a minute ago, depending on what path you decided to take, every little fork in the road, you've changed a little bit of your perhaps destiny.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So now that we're further into it, well, let's introduce J9 and hear some more about your background and how you discovered your
medium. Love to hear about your background and your thoughts on all of this, because you're a psychic medium, so you have a way of looking at things a whole different way.
Hi, everyone. I'm J9, and I'm from Two Faces Podcast. I've always had an interest in the paranormal ever since I was little, but I didn't know that it was different than other people's interests. When I was very small, I grew up in my grandmother's house, and her daughter had passed away from cystic fibrosis when she was 17. It was my mom's sister. And I used to always hang out on her porch, and I would always say it was like talking to someone, and I could describe her. And I was too young to really know like that she had passed away or anything about that. So I was always connected to it till I got older. And then everyone was like, it's really weird that you were like tapping into, her spirit. And then there was just so many other things that went on in that house that were really weird and unexpected. And I just became very obsessed with going to the graveyard and the cemeteries and asking my mom at a really young age to take me. And she would always be like, why? Like, why do you want to go there? And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel such a connection. And I was probably like 6 or 7, 8. And I remember there would be this ice cream place that we would stop at called, I think it was called Applegates. It was a big ice cream place right by the cemetery. We'd stop there and then
New Jersey?
In New Jersey. And then I'd sit and go through the graves and just, my mom thought it was weird, but she did it. Followed me along. So that's where it all kind of started.
And what do you think that you were experiencing or trying to experience by going there? The allure or the fascination, the draw behind it?
I think at first, initially, it was just peace, maybe because it was peaceful and it was quiet. But I was able to start to see like spirits kind of wave me over, and they would kind of tell me little things. And I would start to kind of look up like things about the people, with their graves and stuff, and it would just turn out to be along the same lines, like how someone passed away or their interests or something that was really important to them. I don't know if it's coincidence, but it just kind of kept occurring.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a very unusual thing for a small child to think about.
Yeah.
Cemeteries. My kids called them rock parks. They didn't even understand what they really were. Go ahead.
Your J9, your mother's sister, who passed away before you were born, having so much knowledge about her, also surprised the family. Things they didn't tell you.
Yeah.
I think that just carried that on over into like our paranormal investigating, and then some, I'm able to go into like a home and kind of sense things that went on or get, ideas from, a spirit or an entity that's in the house. So kind of just follows along with it.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
I have kind of a theory. I'd be interested in what you think about this because I have some sensitivity, and I believe that it's kind of cumulative, that the more spirits you encounter, the more you're likely to keep encountering that. The spirits can tell that you're likely to see them, hear them, feel them, or whatever, that they can tell that in your energy.
Yeah, I think that maybe as a small child, like I was able to maybe like have my brain focus more in that area where other people didn't. So now that I'm older, it's just something that I would do as a kid.
Yeah. Very interesting. So how long have you guys been investigating together?
It's been about 5 years now.
Exactly, yeah.
And how did that start?
I wanted to go to the cemeteries again and started walking around and started doing my little thing where I was like, oh, there's a spirit waving me over. And I would go over to the grave and tell him like what the spirits were telling me. And then he would look it up and be like, wow, you were like really on point. And I was like, I always really wanted to do paranormal investigating. And I had always wanted to do radio too. So we started our own podcast and we're like, let's just do it about paranormal. So then we decided to branch out and start actually going to places and investigate. So we were able to do some businesses here in Las Vegas. And then when we travel, we'll find a spot and contact them and see if we can investigate, wherever we are in whatever state. So we've bounced around a lot. We've had some fun experiences.
One of my favorite early on was a time we went to the graveyard, no equipment or anything. And she felt drawn to a certain direction and just led us in that direction and started describing a car accident. The car the occupants were in and the car that collided with it. And we arrived at a grave with a monument made out of a seatbelt. And
Ooh,
I believe that was part of what you picked up too, is something about not having a seatbelt not being like a factor. And this woman's grave was entirely dedicated to like wearing seatbelts. And we looked up the accident, and it was on the intersection that she had said, coming from the direction she had said, and the collision happened exactly like it. There was just so many details that she was just telling me as we were walking up to it. And it blew my
wow.
mind and got me hyped to keep investigating more. I've been wanting to
That's-
see if she can pick up something like that I can find evidence of at the same time with something scientific enough, or picking up something that I can say, okay, this is a repeatable device that picks this up in this spot when she does this kind of thing.
You know,
It's a-
I've read and heard about a lot of junkyards that have a lot of paranormal activity because of accidents.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Very
That's
scary
interesting.
stories. Very scary stories.
That's a hot tip.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time when we go into like people's businesses or homes, like I get nervous because I don't know the people. So it's a little hard to kind of tap into that side of your brain where you need like complete silence and like everything to be kind of at rest and at peace. And one time we did one of the motorcycle shops out here, and there was a ton of motorcycles all in a row. I mean, there had to be like almost $1 million worth of merchandise, and I didn't want to like go like tap anything and watch all these motorcycles fall over. So I was a little off my game there, but I did pick up on her uncle.
Oh, that was unbelievable. Jim. Just
Yeah.
talking about Jim and what he meant to them. And when we walked around the corner and found a shirt with a patch on it that said Jim.
Well, she left it there, but she had it turned around. So
Yeah.
at the end, like when I was telling her the whole thing, she's like, "Oh, I want to show you this," and she had it like in an office, and she turned it around and was like, "Yeah, this is my uncle that had just recently passed away, and we wanted to do this whole thing just to see if he would like contact you and tell us something." So that was really wild.
Yeah, getting that name before we saw anything was nuts. The umbrella. These are ones that we have on YouTube too that you can check out. That was another thing that this guy in this photo studio was hoping that we'd bump into this umbrella, and we did. We were so drawn to it. Like he was like putting it on the couch and saying, "There's something about this umbrella," and he was so delighted. So he was like, "Oh, that's the thing that I've been feeling stuff about too."
Yeah, that was Photo Bang Bang. And then
That's right.
it was Curtis.
That's
Is that
correct.
Tell me I forgot his last name.
Oh, Curtis. Yeah, honestly, I forgot Curtis's last name too.
Well, he owns Photo Bang Bang, and he let us come in there. Yeah, and he
This is
had
in Las Vegas, by the way.
and he had that umbrella, and at the end again, he was like, "I put this here on purpose because I've felt that it was like haunted and had something attached to it since the day that I got it." And his photo studio has a lot of very old vintage things in like was the dentist chair.
Oh my gosh, the dentist chair. Oh, this dentist chair was so old that it predates anesthesia. So
Oh,
imagine
wow.
what took place in this chair, like as far as emotions leaving an imprint on an object or a place.
Yeah.
Needless to say, the XLS picked up a skeleton in that.
Yeah, I kept having a
Wow.
body sit in the chair. It was an interesting place to investigate. I'm glad that he had contacted us to do it. But yeah, the umbrella was supposed to be the one thing he really wanted to know about, and that's the one thing that even the REM pod picked up on it. And then I kept saying there's just something about the umbrella. So sometimes it's nice when the like the equipment will pick something up, like as I pick something up too. So there's two things that are kind of mirroring the same thing.
Right.
Speaking of finding something in a certain spot, there's something that we developed that we haven't seen something similar to this, but it's just so easy to explain. Imagine you had little tiny boxes that could pick up if the temperature dropped, like when you feel a chill in a certain spot, or they could pick up if the tiniest thing bumped into them or nudged them. Let me move back over to our site really quick. And let me show you, we made this thing called the Paranormal Sensor Station. It looks big in this picture, but it's like the size of your thumb. And the hardware already existed for like laboratories and factories and stuff. And we worked together to make this code for it so we could just swarm them in a place and have them all report back to my laptop and tell us, okay, in the back room, the temperature dropped, or in the kitchen, something bumped it, and lead us to that part of a house. We did this at, was it Mackey Mansion?
Yeah.
This sort of Mackey Mansion video is the first one that, well, actually it was at the that Halloween place with the Skull Manor.
Yeah, we first did it in Skull Manor, which is a house here in Las Vegas where they have all kinds of oddities that they get kind of old vintage things and turn them into skulls. Like they'll make like skull jewelry or skull jewelry box. And they have like a really small shop in their house, but the whole house is all made out of skulls and little, it's really interesting. And they do like a big Halloween thing for kids every year. So they let us come in and we use the sensor stations. And what's nice about the sensor station is you don't have to be, and you can put them all out and not, see what's going on in all different rooms. So if you go to a big place, and then it tracks it all on the computer for you to see like the time when the weather changed or the temperature, sorry.
Exactly. I even added a new plugin for it. That's this sensor bar, I call it. It's the same thing that's inside a scale. So say you had a scale that could measure the tiniest chunk of a milligram, and you took just the little bar inside the scale that did the sensing of weight, and you stick it upright. So that same sensitivity can be pushed on one side or the other. And I just put yes and no on the bar. So even if you were to like blow on it, it could feel that pressure on one side or the other. And we set it far away so, we don't like wave our arms and blow on it. And there's some sensitivity adjustments that I made, so it's not like you're going to walk next to it and trigger it. And this has been a fun thing too, because it's relatively easy for a spirit to, or some kind of entity to put pressure on something that's that sensitive and then answer questions that way. But then also sometimes we'll put it there and nothing happens. And that's something else I like about some things like this is you want it to not work sometimes, because then it doesn't just always spit out random stuff. You want it to count. So this is the Paranormal Sensor Station. This is another thing that we've open sourced. So you could buy this thing and put the code on it yourself or get it from us. And the thing to have it talk to your computer, all free and open source. I even put the code out there so the community can verify this scientifically and not, keep it this closed thing that you can wonder what like stuff we hid in the code. And speaking of hiding stuff in the code, we also wanted to bring that to the App Store. So you don't have to buy an object or build something. You can just get something free on your phone that you already have with the tech it already has in it and do some investigating that you can trust. Because we've all seen tons of paranormal apps that just are just doing random stuff and feel a lot more hokey. This combines the SLS thing we were talking about, where it puts a skeleton where it thinks it sees a person, but we improved this a little bit. We made the skeleton stay there a little longer. So if it appears really quickly, it'll stay on the screen for a couple of seconds before it fades away. So you get to see those. But we also combine this with a second tool that we discovered around the same time when we were working on it. And that's, well, we're all familiar with EVPs. I'll start with, you were talking about using tape recorders. And for anyone who familiar with EVPs, briefly, you expect a spirit to record a voice as you're recording yourself asking questions. Well, your phone already has the ability to turn voice into text. and get the phone's opinion on what words it thinks it heard. So we worked that into the app. So while you're looking for skeletons or figures, if anybody says anything in the room, human or otherwise, that text appears on the screen. And you can get its opinion on what it thought it heard too. For
That's
example,
very cool.
right?
It's really
And,
very cool.
and it's
Because
unbiased then.
yeah, and you could be in a room with people and listening to it over and over again, and everybody has their own idea of what it said, and it's so fast and muted, and at least the phone could still be wrong, but the
Sure.
phone could weigh in on what it thinks it said.
Yeah, it's a great way to get another opinion. And you'll never believe how we came up with this. And this is something that everyone can do too. That would be neat to see become a thing. You know, there's tons of apps you can get or plugins for things or things to make captions on the screen. And or you could use the little microphone icon on the keyboard of your phone. And we would just take quiet parts of investigations, crank them up really loud and blast them into one of these things and see if it started captioning anything we couldn't hear. And creepy stuff would happen. Sometimes it would repeat one phrase over and over again. Sometimes it would be something that completely fit with a question we asked or someone we were trying to talk to that we didn't know at the time until we came back to this later. Skull Manor was our favorite for this one because there was a loved one that passed away that just seemed really present in that place still. And we found messages that seemed to be from that person in what popped up and what it thought it heard in the noise.
That's crazy. So you made something that combines several different ways of looking at a parent. Like, okay.
Basically our two favorite, one for the eyes, one for the ears.
Right.
So it's not too overwhelming and you just open it and it just does it. You don't have to worry about configuring anything.
But normally, I could be wrong, but normally you have a whole bunch of equipment, everything does something separate, and you know, everybody's monitoring something separate, and then you're combining separate things at the end and seeing what kind of validates each other. But if you have made an app that can bring in different elements, that is really wonderful. That's next level, right?
You know, one less thing to carry.
Yeah.
And it leans on something that everyone's familiar with. EVPs are already a trusted way to communicate. And this is just a new take on doing those. The SLS was already one of our favorite, and it's just a new improved way of doing that.
Well, I think it's fun too, because, you know, if there's people that are just trying to go to an investigation to just have fun, it's all on your phone and you can record the whole experience and have it right there in front of you to kind of go back and look through. And plus going through the airports with all that equipment and getting stopped all the time.
Right.
Oh, that's definitely a factor. They're always pulling all the stuff out of my backpack.
Yeah. And then people see it and they're like, oh, do you do investigations? And, you know, we have to put everything back into the bags and wires. And so, yeah, I was like, why don't we just make something that just makes it easier?
I love that. And it's great for people that are in a situation where they're curious and they just want to see if they can find anything. It's not a big, you know, like you see everybody pulling in all this equipment and all these cables full of wires and hours to get it set up and whatnot. No, you have something on your phone in real time. And we got a message from Two Faces Podcast saying that the Spirit Data app is on the App Store. So the Spirit Data app is available. It's on the App Store, and anyone that's interested, go get it and check it out. And again, we are going to have them back. They're wonderful guests, super interesting. Father Shawn is so sorry that he had to miss this episode. Father Shawn's also in Las Vegas. So just love for him to be back and get a chance to talk to the both of them himself. But the Spirit Data app is on the App Store.
Yes, and it's free. It's ad
and it's
supported.
free.
But if you want to remove the ads, we'll give you a promo code here in the chat, and that can give you half off for you and your listeners to remove the ads on it.
Lovely. Okay, promo code.
I'll
Who's
drop that
gonna
in the chat here.
Who's gonna step up and try it out? We want to hear your feedback. I want to hear your interesting experiences. I really do. We'd love to hear that.
Yes, and in the chat, we're seeing it and we're ready for your questions too. Is there any piece of gear that you've wondered our opinion on it, how well we think it works, and how it might work? While you're getting that together, I'd love to talk about some other favorite pieces of gear now that we're further into it.
I would love to hear about that. Is it okay for me to say the promo code out loud for all the people listening in their cars and all
That's
of
right.
that? Okay. The promo code that he typed in is Nightmare. That's the promo code for half off of Spirit Data. Spirit Data is free at the App Store. With the code, you can get half off of the version that's without ads.
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
Capitalize it or not, spell it correctly, and join us. So I wanted to talk about EMF readers. Now that we've talked about all of the other super common, I mean, that's the one, the K2 is a common one.
Yeah.
There's that one with the needle. Trifield is the one with the needle that's really common. And what these things do is they try to, at least in the setting that's usually set to, because they can do a couple of things. They see if there's electromagnetic field kind of action going on near them. And this is something that has always been extremely hard for science to do. As far as I know, it only really happens like in like particle colliders or something, as far as finding where in space a field is happening. If you try to make a grid of these things, and I have tried, they like talk to each other instead of picking up where in space. So you're always like walking around seeing where it's going to get a spike, where EMF is going to happen. Of course, it spikes near like a wall outlet or something very electrical, because that's what they're actually first created for, is finding live power lines and seeing if something is leaking a bunch of interference that messes with radios and stuff. But these are so common for spirit time, and I've found that there are ones that'll actually keep a log. So this has become a favorite thing for me, is one that if it happens really quick and you don't have a camera strapped to it, you can look back and see if there's a spike on its little graph. So this is something that I don't think everybody needs. If you want to just dive into this with any of them, go ahead. But I find that to be a fun next level thing, and you can see that in our videos. And then if you want to get into some things that didn't do very much, this would be fun contrastingly. So that was exciting. And I thought, oh, radio waves. What if I find something like moving in a room with radio waves? And this is how things can go down like a dangerous rabbit hole that is not as effective later. And you saw us play with this a little bit in the umbrella one, but not really bring it back much because it needs more. It needs that machine learning touch to like read something out of it. But let me tell you what I'm talking about. I got this thing that is for testing antennas and testing cables that go to antennas. And you're supposed to hook one side to one antenna that transmits and the other side to another antenna that picks it up. And it shows you what stuff changed between the antennas. Like how did the radio signal it's testing with get messed up by the air between the antennas, or by the antenna or the cable? And this is supposed to be for like fine tuning antennas or cables to antennas. And we just put like stuff we're investigating between the two antennas, but you have to stand very still because anything moves in the room and the wave on it moves. So maybe this will be something in the future where we can have something a little smarter than us analyze the way the frequency wave graph, which is a spectrum analysis, if I'm going to be using the real terms, but it just shows you, the intensity at each frequency that's looking at. When that changes, we want to see it change in a significant way, like responding to a question, something coming to a certain spot. But it turned into like a confusing wave to look at, and antennas and cable lying around. And that was one that was less successful, I think. And I think it's fun to share how it doesn't always go magically too. Anyhow, I could ramble on
it's very
about a few of
cool
these.
that I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I could ramble on about a few of these. Keep going.
No, that's fine. I think everybody's really interested in it. I'm interested in it too. I mean, the advent of computer technology has just taken all of this to the stratosphere. And I was going to say, before you got here, J9, I was saying, I'm from the era of cassette tape recorders.
Yeah,
And
I am too.
dowsing rods. And we had this little flashlight. It's a little flashlight that you could turn the end, and we would get a lot of answers from spirit by turn on the flashlight if the answer is yes.
I
Now,
love
all of
those.
these things, you love those? Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought those up. That's another one I'm glad we didn't forget that everyone can do. That's fun.
Well, cat balls are cool too. I like cat balls. They work.
Well, I feel like cat balls have worked for us, but like you have to be in a really haunted place. I don't think.
Yeah.
So
Here's the
like
thing.
with the jingle bell inside?
There's cat
Cat ball.
balls that like blink. What it is it's like a tiny
Oh.
spring.
Yeah.
Inside this clear plastic ball is a tiny spring and a tiny metal cylinder around the spring. So when something bumps the ball, the spring springs out and touches the inside of the cylinder. So something has to really significantly bump the cat ball, like a cat batting it, for it to blink and flash.
Nice.
And when you scatter these around and one of them flashes, it's particularly spooky because you play with these things and you notice you have to give it a pretty decent bump to make it blink like that. Like the next evolution, I think, to the idea of putting a kid's ball in a room, which is as simple as this is one of my favorites too. And see if something nudges the ball, which you can wait a long time sometimes. But with the cat ball, when you see it do that, especially what you were talking about before, when you the act of investigating bringing spirits into a place, I think that's when you know you've really done that, when cat balls start going off.
It's actually very cool. So, there's a lot of ways to do this, but the technology is so great at verification, which we didn't have before. It was just, in some instances, you were just telling a tale that no one else was witness to, and that was it, one and done, and it's over.
Yeah, and repeatability, that someone else can test it too. So that's the whole thing that got me excited. It's like, oh, what happens if I do this? Is it just them, or can I make it happen too?
Well, I think that's what's interesting about us is that he does all the scientific part of it, and I kind of just do the mediumship work. It's like I don't really rely on the tools that much. I mean, I like to see what they'll do, but it's not like I don't have to have them there, but that's his thing and that's what he likes to do. So we kind of just join that together.
That is very cool. And there was an experiment that reminded me of where they had a psychic medium in a cemetery, and there was a paranormal team. And she said when she saw something, she pointed towards it and said she saw something. And everyone started to take pictures. And some of the pictures were orbs. Some looked like a mist. Some looked kind of shadowy. And I thought that was super interesting. So almost you might think that all of those different things that you see are part of the process of a spirit being able to kind of materialize to the best of its ability. Would you think that is true, or do you understand it a different way? Do you see anything in mist or in different forms trying to materialize. Do you think that orbs are related to the materialization of spirit?
I don't really see a lot of orbs because the places that we've investigated, I haven't seen orbs in like a cemetery or a graveyard, but like the places that we investigate are usually older, so they're so dusty that he's
Yep.
usually able to debunk whether it's dust or not. He's able to look at things with, lighting and cameras and stuff where I don't have that kind of background. So he's able to be like, no, that's just dust or whatever.
And I'm sure there's times when people are in a place that there's just no dust going on, and one appears and it's so random or specific or so related to things. And I don't want to take away from that. But we just haven't had something compelling we can say about an orb, except maybe there's sometimes something will fly by with the SLS that kind of blocks the beam, the old one that uses the 3D depth sensing beams. But then again, it's just another, when something's very close to the lens, it looks bigger, even with the distance tracking beams. Mist is another thing that's I'm almost kind of jealous of. I think it's one of those things that maybe is just rare enough that we haven't had something special happen with it, but maybe inevitably will. And it's something I look forward to, something like that. I mean, something like a shadow figure, a perception of a person there, I think can also relate to this. One person might think they saw a mist, while a different person might see a shadow figure, and it could just be the subconscious perceiving a presence there a different way.
I like the idea of the Simon game that they talked about in the chat. That's cute.
Let me put
I
that
agree.
I would
want to
do
talk
that.
about that. So let me bring up this chat. This is a new idea I've never heard of that fits
This
right
is
along.
Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Yes.
She's saying, I have seen a party use a Simon Says game. The drunk teens were using the green for yes and the red for no, but it got real when the window slammed shut. Ooh.
This is what I love about this. If we go back to something I was saying earlier about how anything random seems to give an opportunity for spirits to influence it, just like tarot cards, if you're just randomly shuffling, but what is influencing, taking you into that specific reality where that particular card was the one. So there might be a reality where Simon Says in its little random brain comes up with red, and another one where it comes up with green, but the spirit that wants to answer you pulls you into the reality where it has the answer that's right, because it's living in that quantum place where these things in an atom, say an electron, for example, is only going to be in a certain place when you observe it. So you become the observer of the reality where it's that color, and then poof, you're answered by something seemingly random. And that's a fun way to tap into that way of it happening. And touch lamps. So while we're responding to comments, I was actually reading these while you were talking about the past thing. I wanted to talk about a couple of these. So
we got Kara West saying, my touch lamp goes on, brightens up, and turns off by itself. It's only a small metal knob on the very top. And I want to say that happened to me right here in this very room less than 2 weeks ago. Mine started going through all of the different, it has 3 different brightnesses, and it would go low, medium, bright, off, low, medium, bright, off, and then it went off. And that's
so the way these touch lamps work is almost exactly like a REM pod. So believe it or not, when you've had this touch lamp in your house, you've had a way less sensitive REM pod this whole time. Now, REM pods, if you're unaware, these things are basically a hobby kit theremin that people found out was so sensitive that instead of you moving your hand to an antenna to change the pitch of the note, the antenna would just sit there and sometimes pick up a hand no one was seeing moving close to it and responding. And how close you move to it also changes which color light lights up. So this thing ends up perfect for a spirit to communicate this way or get your attention. And briefly, how it's doing that is that antenna is acting like a sensor of how much electrons are moving between it and ground, like a big capacitor to be more specific. And when something moves in the way of that capacitor, it can change. It can detect that change. An easy comparison is if you've ever had an old radio and you were barely getting a station and you walked around the room and that changed how well the station picked up. That
Yeah.
was you acting like another antenna for the radio, which is what's going on with the REM pod. You're changing the length of this in the air antenna that it's got on, and it can tell when you're close enough that electricity is going through you, through the air to ground with the antenna just a little tiny bit better. And that's what it's picking up. In fact, the touchpad on your computer does the same thing too, in a super tiny close-up way. It's full of
Interesting.
little tiny antennas picking up when your finger is in the field of these antennas. But the touch lamp also does that. It just, you have to touch it to make the change happen. That's when it picks you up.
See, when I was younger, I didn't have any tools to play with to kind of bring this stuff out. It was just kind of me. So I did the taboo no, and I would make like Ouija boards myself, which wasn't a good idea. And like I would literally make them out of cardboard and use an actual really heavy glass. I was very young, so I didn't know what I was doing. And
Right.
my friends would play it and it would move. And I know that we weren't pushing it, or I would actually use it by myself, which I don't know. I wouldn't do that now, I don't think. I think the Ouija
Right.
board's kind of off the
Yeah, and you know what? We only have 3 minutes left. I can't believe how fast it went. This is the fastest hour of the week, every week, and I just so loved having you guys on. We're gonna mention what Heidi sent. She said I used to play a game I called Roll Call and ask whoever's from 19 and whatever, fill it in, to come out blinking, and she would have orbs come out. So I mean, I just think all of these have been very, very interesting, fascinating. You
Fun
guys,
things to try. I got to try the Mr. Merlin game.
I'll
I
get-
had a Mr. Merlin game as a kid, and I never tried this with it. That's so cool.
I want to get a Simon now and do.
Yeah.
We'll
it's
report back.
interesting. If we ever see a video of you on an investigation and you have a Simon, we'll know where that came from.
We'll definitely plug you guys.
And speaking of which, this is Two Faces Paranormal. They have the Two Faces podcast. If you want to give any information about yourselves, and we'll remind everybody about the Spirit Data app that they can get at the App Store.
Well, twofacesparanormal.com or twofacespodcast.com. You can spell it the right way and you'll get us there.
Yeah, just add us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're on all platforms, TikTok.
Please subscribe on YouTube.
Yes.
We just have like our own little private, delicious desire to just get a bunch of YouTube subscribers would be so neat. Like we're not doing it for that, but that would just be cool bonus points to get some YouTube subscribers.
Yes, please subscribe. Please subscribe to our show too. If you get anything out of this and you enjoy it, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Stay plugged in. We love our chatters, and we loved having you. And you guys
Thank you so
will have
much.
you soon. And he really is sorry to miss it. He felt really bad. So please come back, and we'll continue the conversation and do it again.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Really appreciate having you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
great night and a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.